Yes, it's starting.
All right. Okay. Hi, good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining, and thanks for also bearing with me for a couple of minutes. It being a Saturday, uh, my 4-year-old is behind me to, spend time with her. So, anyways, yeah. So let's begin. So today we'll be discussing about Azure Synapse Analytics and its machine learning capabilities. So how you can do diverse machine learning case studies like sentiment analysis or performing automated ML for case studies like supervised machine learning, unsupervised machine learning, all within the purview of Azure Synapse Analytics. Okay, so if you broadly see all of these Azure things like data lake, data factory, cognitive services, now Synapse, and much more. So they are interrelated. So you can connect all these offerings via what we call as ingest pipelines. So you can create different pipelines and the different workspaces which you create in Synapse Studio or in Machine Learning Studio. You can interconnect with them and so for example, if you are working with one particular data set, maybe a file data source, or it could be Azure Blob Storage or Azure Data Lake data set, and you're using that to work on Azure Machine Learning Studio. So that same capabilities you can also leverage and maybe interconnect them with Azure Synapse. With Azure Synapse, you get the added advantage of having reporting in Power BI and stuff. So you can have visuals of your data set sent out to business in the form of Power BI reports, and from there you can do much more processing on the data to make informed business decisions. All right. So we will be learning about Azure Synapse, what it is, what was the need to have Azure Synapse, and then quickly look at the machine learning capabilities. Kasam, can you please remind me of the time duration? What should be roughly the session duration, so that I'll wrap it up accordingly.
So, you can go up to 60 minutes.
All right. Okay. So, yeah, so it won't take that long, but just so that I don't overrun my time. So, you can always connect with me on my Twitter handle, which is at FuzzyMind1. And that being said, so this is the agenda for today. We'll learn about what is Azure Synapse, then why the need for Azure Synapse was there. We'll look at some fundamentals. Okay, so we'll spend fundamentals only keeping machine learning capabilities in mind, right? So for machine learning, what are the diverse scenarios for integrating machine learning. And then there are two things. One is about having sentiment analysis on your data set, and other is running the automated ML. So let's see how time permits and whether we can complete both of the demos, or for one we will see the existing AI demos on the Microsoft website, and the other one, auto ML, will actually see how to configure it in the Synapse Studio. Okay, and we will see how to connect the AutoML, as I was saying, how to connect the machine learning studio offerings, the cognitive services offerings, vis-a-vis the Synapse offerings. Okay. So when you talk of Azure Synapse, right? So if you look at the Microsoft official documentation, it directly comes up with Azure Synapse Analytics. Okay, so it's basically it's a rebranding. So initially they had something called as a SQL Data Warehouse, and they added few capabilities to it, and they have rebranded it as Azure Synapse Analytics. All right, so it's just nothing but an unlimited information store, and then also you can analyze the information, and then that can be further given to post processing pipelines, and then you can have different views on the data set, like you can have chart view, and then you can aggregate on some other columns. So people who initially maybe couple of decades ago, they might have worked with SQL BI services, business intelligence services. That time Visual Studio also used to have an extension called as Business Intelligence Studio, and where you could build those SSIS packages and work with SSAS or SQL Service Analytics SQL Server Analytic Services, right? So in that SSAS, if you remember, you could have a cube view wherein you had XYZ axis and you could twist the data. So let's say if you had sales, so sales you could visualize per region, per city, per country, per geographical demographics, stuff like that, right? And then do certain types of statistical operations on them. So Synapse more or less offers the same thing, but then again, it can digest data, ingest data from a lot of varied data sources. So it could be like flat files, it could be file unstructured data, it could be like already data existing in SQL databases on premise or on Azure. Okay, it could be data from platform as a service, or directly the SQL Server offerings on your Azure portal. Okay, could be data base residing on your Azure VM. So no limitation to how you can ingest the data and what should be the source of your data. It could be flat files, unstructured, structured, could be from cognitive search, could be from Elasticsearch. Okay, so diverse possibilities. And as I was saying, that it has been a rebranding of the SQL data warehouse, and then it combines together business data storage, and of course, when you talk of Synapse, then and when you talk of data warehouse, you always think about big data. Then I mean, you do not limit yourself to smaller data sets, so it is always huge data, big data. Okay, and then it's like a single service for all workloads when processing, serving, and managing the data. Okay, for your BI needs. So you have your data, you do sort of analysis on that, you can have your future prediction in terms of machine learning on that, and then finally you present it to the business to make informed decisions. You can have different, the business can do different operations on top of that. So especially, like, the final output of the Synapse is sort of one or multiple data sets or files, which could be further ingested in Power BI reports, or it could be ingested across, as from your ASP web services, microservices. It could be consumed to further downstream applications, and humongous amount of possibilities you can have once your data is dished out of Synapse. Okay, so it provides, like, a choice to handle and query huge amounts of information. So it could be like on demand, so serverless. Okay, or it could be like, ad hoc analysis with provision sources. So when we go to the Synapse portal, I will show you how you can create those Spark pools on the fly. How can you can create SQL pools on the fly. So those could be like, on demand. So I'm creating a 4-core Spark cluster, or creating a 8-core Spark cluster, and out of, depending on the data load, it will automatically scale up or scale down. Or you could actually have provisioned resources, right? So you might have a SQL data store earlier, or you could have a Spark data frame from MML Spark, machine learning Spark Studio earlier, and then you can actually provision them that this is only what I have to use, and if there's a data load, then maybe increase by 2 cores or stuff like that. So you have options, you have freedom to choose whether it's like it's a pool, serverless, or you're provisioning resources for that. Okay, so what Synapse does is, it brings together all the different offerings of Azure which we have, okay, with the together, centrally together, and then it can be further utilized for advanced machine learning capabilities, and also doing immediate BI. So not every time you might have to do some sort of complex ML operations on your database or data set. So in Azure Synapse Analytics, the primary goal is you ingest data, and huge data. So we are not talking of gigabytes or that data. So think of terabytes, petabytes, or more. So that data from diverse sources. So you do all your ETL processes. So your data will be cleaned, your data will be it would be assured of diversity. So rich data sources from all over all over the representing all the aspects of your case study. So let's say if I'm doing a loan application system, then I have to ensure that my data is huge, of course, yes, lot of historical data is covered, plus lot of demographics are covered. When I say demographics, meaning people in all age groups. So people for loan applications typically meaning students, middle-aged people, people working, people non-working, homeless people, rich people. So it has to be diverse, rich, and then after that, once it is ingested, you will ensure that the data is cleaned also. So you will not have imbalanced data sets and stuff like that. And once you have the data, then either, I mean, depending on your business scenario. So when we talk of Azure Synapse, right, many people come to me saying that, hey, we already had Azure Data Factories, we had Azure blob storage, we had Azure tables, and we have SQL Server on Azure and stuff like that. And we have Azure Data Lake also, for that matter, so data lake generation 2 and stuff. So what is Azure Synapse? And they immediately think that it is some kind of a data warehouse with machine learning embedded inside it. Absolutely not. So let us first of all clear out this confusion, that it is not something with embedded machine learning inside it. What or people come to me saying we already had Azure Data Bricks, right? So why do you need to have this Synapse Analytics, where you tell me that I have Spark course, I have SQL course, and I can do a better job? And I mean, is it different because I can have machine learning integrated inside Synapse? So no, machine learning is not integrated inside Synapse. We have to ingest machine learning depending on the scenario which we are performing with Azure Synapse. So let's say, so my coming back to the my loan application scenario. So I have historical data, and then I might have to prepare a system wherein I have to ingest the data, and then for future stuff, I might have to have some kind of prediction that, given this history of loan application, if for the next quarter or for the next year or for the next 5 years, if I have people in this demographic, then what are their chances of buying homes, or what are their chances of applying for home loans, and the chances of those loans getting approved. So this is my case study. So maybe I'm a retail banking institution, or I'm an investment banking, and I'm looking out at all these home loans clients, home loan clients. So in that case, this is my business requirement. So then let's say I'm ingesting my data in Azure Synapse. Now, since I have to do some sort of prediction on that, like I have this data, historical data with me, and now I have to do some analysis and predict for the next 5 years or the next decade. And then here we have a need to apply machine learning to our case study, right? So I have historical data, I will then analyze the data, I will have supervised machine learning regression algorithm come out with some relation between the X and Y, and then predict something for the given period of time, or for the given input data, for the given validation data. All right. So now in this particular case, the what capability of Azure Synapse is primarily is, it is being used to I mean, it is being used as a base for ingesting my data. All right. So I brought in my data from diverse data sources. It's huge data, and I built pipelines to input it into Azure Synapse. Okay. So I brought the data into Azure Synapse. So we have something called as a Synapse Studio for this, right? So I created Spark course, and I have possibility of interoperability between my Spark data frames and my SQL data sets, right? So I can do that. So I can have a various views of data. I can see the data in chart form. I can see loan application within the age demographic. So how many loan applicants within the age of 25 to 30 and having a job had their loan approved, or how many people on student loan already and applied for home loans had their home loans approved, and stuff like that. So I can do visualization on this data as well, one part. Okay, so which is the BI capabilities, which are the business intelligence capabilities. And now separately on my Azure machine learning workspace, I can have my machine learning models, right? And those machine learning models, now I can train them using my data source from Azure Synapse, or I can create a machine learning workspace in my machine learning studio, right? And use that machine learning workspace here in Azure Synapse to harness the data which I have, and then remotely, like via script, train my machine learning models. So lot of possibilities there. We will see how they interoperate with each other. But just to clear off the confusion, depending on your case studies which you have and your business need which you have, you might choose or not choose to have machine learning. So Synapse doesn't automatically mean, or it doesn't automatically integrate machine learning. It's a data store, it's a data warehouse, and as all data warehouses or data stores go, it is just a collection or a base for storing your data, and then what all possibilities you can have on top of that data are defined by your immediate business needs, case studies. Okay, so how the architecture of this data warehouse goes. Okay, so this is your Synapse Analytics. All right, Synapse Analytics, from there you can have your entire ecosystem of applications, wherein there are applications conversing to your data warehouse, and then doing certain reporting on top of that. You could, as I was saying, have Azure machine learning. You can have Azure data share here, and you can have Power BI. So Synapse Analytics sits in the center of all the Azure offerings which we have. So you have AML, Azure machine learning. You have all your microservices and other Azure applications. You have your Azure data share, which is Azure Data Lake and ADF Data Factory, and your Power BI. Okay, so that is like a centrally positioned system, and then you can inherit or you can ingest and send out data to all of the surrounding Azure offerings. Okay, and it guarantees concurrency, validity, of course, because it is data warehouse and has Spark clusters and Spark cores and all. The latency will be very low and the availability will be very high. Okay, so how does Synapse actually work? I mean, what is the basis of the low latency? I mean, why does it operate very fast? Okay, so Microsoft Service is software as a service. So this one, Azure, is a software as a service, and which can be used to run on demand. Okay, and then of course, when it is an on-demand stuff, like how you have your Azure functions or other serverless offerings which run on demand, so it will have a huge impact on your cost savings. Okay, so it has 4 components, right? SQL analytics with a full T-SQL based analysis. So it is, you can create SQL clusters, you can create SQL pools, and they will be used per demand. So whenever you are running your SQL queries for any sort of data reading or ingesting data from your data warehouse, from your Synapse Analytics, then it will have that SQL analytics on demand. It is Apache Spark fully integrated, and it has connectors with multiple data sources. So you can, as I was saying, you can choose to ingest data from diverse data sources, right? So and it has it's just inherent connectivity with your ADF, so it is very easy to build pipelines. So you can create your data base, or you can have your database on Azure SQL PaaS, platform as a service. You can have it on blob storage, you can have it on Azure file share, and then from all of them you can build pipelines and pull your data back into Synapse, and then do operations there and interact with all your other Azure ecosystem offerings as well. Okay, so I mean, inherently, when you talk of Azure Data Lake and Synapse, right? So Synapse is using the Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2 as a data warehouse, and whatever the administration and other features of Azure Data Lake are also inherited and integrated into Azure Synapse. Okay. If you talk of security, it allows you to protect, monitor, and manage your solutions. Okay, so you have all those security solutions like single sign-on and Azure Active Directory integration. Okay, and it is much more than a normal data warehouse. So if you look at your normal, okay, there's another query which I routinely get is, so now you have Snowflake also, right? So when you talk of Snowflake on Azure, and then you talk of Azure Synapse Analytics, so people compare and contrast, ask me to compare and contrast those things. Again, because Azure Synapse Analytics is an Azure offering, and Snowflake on Azure is some sort of a third-party integration from Snowflake onto Azure. Of course, the interoperability within the Azure ecosystem is much more with Synapse Analytics as compared to your Snowflake. Okay, so that is why it is much more than a data warehouse, since it includes your further processes of giving out the reports of the results of your queries back to users in the form of rich visual applications. So you can have, we will see also on the portal a sample of how you can view your data, play around with your data, and you can create reports, visualizations, and then directly interact with your Power BI applications and send them out to users, end users. Okay. uh, Again, in terms of, so that was more of the end user and the system admin sort of features. Okay, so when it comes to developers, so for us as people who are actually interacting with these system and trying to build components, trying to build services, then in terms of that, it offers a lot of choices. Like SQL is there, of course, because you have SQL pools and you have SQL data analytics. So you have support for SQL, Python, .NET, Java, Scala, and R. Okay, so which is, it makes it highly compatible across all offerings. So now if you look at all the machine learning offerings of Azure, so you have, your Azure Machine Learning Studio is there, your Azure MML Spark is there, you have Azure Databricks and all. So if you have even a working knowledge of those offerings, you will know that not all of them support so many languages. So especially .NET and Java and Scala, all of them together being supported along with your normal data science languages like Python and R. Okay, so that itself is a huge plus for Azure Synapse Analytics. So all of the other Azure ML features and all will selectively support subset of these languages depending on your use cases and depending on the complexity. I mean, depending on the use case that particular feature is being built for. All right, but in case of analytics, because as we saw earlier in the diagram, it sits centrally at the all the offerings, the Azure ecosystem. So that's why it has a rich support for all these languages, and it makes it highly lucrative for operating upon. Okay, and then everything is encompassed within the Synapse Analytics Studio. Okay, and then that's why what it makes it easier to just have your code cells and interoperate between your Azure machine learning workspaces and stuff like that. And so it's not that you will have to create 10 different resources and go back and forth between the machine learning studio or your Synapse Studio. So it's centrally located. Synapse Studio is there, and you can depending you can write your Python script. So when you create a Python notebook in Synapse Studio, by default it is using PySpark, right? So it is using PySpark, and then that PySpark you can write script to call your machine learning workspace from your machine learning studio and do operations on top of that. All right. So we will quickly see the as Synapse Machine Learning Studio, sorry, not Machine Learning, Synapse Studio, and we will also see how easier it is to integrate different offerings. All right, so I have already created it because all these resources, provisioning and creation takes some amount of time here. So let us look at the resources. So when you go to when I want to create a Synapse resource, I just have to go here and then type Azure Synapse. Oh, sorry. Create resource. Yeah, here. See, you have Azure Synapse Analytics. So I'll create a resource. Once the resource is created, essentially what is created is a workspace. Same like machine learning. When you create a machine learning resource, it creates a machine learning workspace. Similarly, we have a workspace which is created. Within that workspace, so you have in the workspace, you will have the endpoints created and you will have the access keys and stuff. From there, if you look, it has this option for Open Synapse Studio. So this Synapse Studio is the one which we were talking about. Everything is encompassed within the Synapse Analytics Studio. So this is the studio which we are talking of, which is like a one-stop shop for all your querying your data and running T-SQL or Spark queries. All right. So if you click on this Open Synapse Studio, it will open this Synapse Studio here. Okay. So All right. So let us not look at the code right now. Okay. Let us look at the Synapse Studio itself. In that Synapse Studio, when let's say if you don't have any notebooks created or you don't have any resources provision there, you will just see the left hand side menu here once you open your Synapse Studio, and you will have certain menu items here. The important menu items for us to for this session are the manage tab. In manage tab, see, we can create SQL pools, we can create Apache pools, Apache Spark pools. SQL pools are used to create, I mean, these are serverless, right? And these pools can be used to work on your T-SQL queries. All right. So if you have, if you're connecting to your database, which is Azure SQL or on-premise or VM, and then from there you want to run some sort of analysis on top of that, SQL pools is there, and you can create. So you can create new pools. So I'm currently, I'm using the built-in ones. You can create pools here. Same for Spark Apache pools. I created a Spark Apache pool with some name. If you look at that, it is 4 cores, 32 GB. Okay, and then it gives you from 3 to 10 nodes. So minimum number of nodes you can specify that, hey, while running my job, minimum I have to run these, should have 3 nodes, and then you can scale up to 10 nodes depending on the number of jobs which are running in parallel, or the data load which is being processed at one time. Okay, so you can have the choice to scale up here. So Spark Apache pool, SQL pools are there. Okay, and the other tab of interest for us will be the develop tab. So for developers who are building features, and there, if you see, if you can have SQL script, you can have a SQL script which will use the SQL pools, and then as I was saying, it can use to run queries on your data set. Okay, you can create notebooks. So by default, when you create a notebook, it will be it will be a Python notebook, but it will be PySpark, right? And then you can also create data flows. So when you are essentially talking of data flows, is how you used to have those data sets and data flows in SSIS integration services, right? So you can create data flows. Okay, and these are a bit important, all are a bit advanced functionalities. Okay, so when we go into quite intricate case studies for Azure Synapse, these come into play. Apart from that, the most often used ones are SQL script, notebook, and data flow. Okay, so in today's session we'll be using the notebook. So I already created a notebook where we will be seeing AutoML demo. All right, so AutoML is automated machine learning. Okay, so yeah, so just wanted to show you the Synapse Studio. Okay, so from the Synapse Studio itself, you can call. So in the Synapse Studio, the exercise which we are doing today, the session the demo which we are going to see today, what we are going to basically do is you are going to have uh, we are going to run regression experiment in which instead of the loan application as I was talking about, it will be a New York cab data set. Okay, so you have a historical data of all the cabs in New York, the passenger pickup times, drop times, peak fares. Okay, locations from where the was picked up, the passenger was picked up, and then you have to predict the fare. So you have a lot of features for your data, which is like the location, the traffic, the time of the day, pickup time, drop off time, pickup location, drop off location, number of passengers, and given all these, you will have to predict the fare at one part and one particular season or one particular day. Okay, so this is again a case of regression where you have historical data to analyze, and then depending on the historical data set, you will predict something for the future. So not something, so you will predict one particular output for the future given the input conditions, given the input constraints. Okay, so this is an example of machine learning which we'll have to do. Okay, so and then we will see like how easy it is for us to interoperate. It will be staying within the data studio itself, and from within the Azure Synapse Studio, beautifully we can interoperate with the machine learning studio without having to switch between tabs. Okay, so you will have like like you have a Synapse workspace. If you want to have machine learning, you also have to create a machine learning workspace, which I've already created, right? And that machine learning workspace also, if you see, you have something called as a launch studio, which is a similar operation. And then that operation opens up a machine learning studio. In machine learning studio, or you have options of having a designer, you can have automated ML. What automated ML is, it is a very nice offering, it is a very enhanced offering, wherein I just choose my scenario. Okay, so automated ML in our cases, I know my scenario, I know my data set. It is a New York taxi data set. Okay, and what I have to do is I have to choose regression, and I have to just tell the automated ML, hey, my scenario is regression. My accuracy, like how I want to test my model's accuracy is by some metric called as root mean square error. So this is my metric, and then you do everything. I will not have the headache of which algorithm to use. So within regression, so scenario is regression. Within regression, I know that I can have a lot of algorithms like XGBoost is there, random forest is there, ensemble algorithms are there, lasso regression is there. And then normally, in a typical Python machine learning scenario, it is the developers or the ML developers, data scientists, who will actually write all these algorithms, compare the metrics. Okay, so compare the accuracy metrics. There are root mean square error is there. You have R square, coefficient of determination, regression, and all these things they will compare and contrast and then come out with the best model. Okay, so in automated ML, what I'm saying is, hey, if my scenario is regression, these are all the available algorithms for regression. So there is lasso regression, random forest is there, XGBoost is there, light GBM is there. In all these algorithms, you tell me, I'm choosing the algorithms, I'm choosing my metric. So I'm choosing that root mean square error should be my accuracy for my model. I will give some sort of threshold that if there is a margin, I mean, if the error is less than 7%, acceptable. So the accuracy is already good enough, like 95, 96% accuracy is good enough, right? And that accuracy, I'm going to have some threshold that if the error is 0.7 0.07 or like 7%, then I'm already good enough. Okay, so then I have to just define those threshold, and automated ML will do everything, all the heavy lifting for you. It will run all the algorithms, it will compute all the metrics, it will compare and contrast all the metrics, and then tell you, hi, my I mean, according to all my computation and according to all the hard work which I have done, I have come out with the best model. Okay, and the best model, it according to me, is max AppScaler light GBM. Okay, so this is the light gradient boosting model which I have come out with. And then you can also, so once your run is completed in automated ML, you will be able to see all these things. And then if you go to models, it will also explain you all the I mean, why this model was the best. See, it will give you explanation. Okay, coming back to the details, I also want to show you that for our experiment, which is not the Taxifera, I'm just talking about automated ML now, and to show you how in a studio we can leverage the automated ML without even going back to the ML Studio tab. Okay, and if you look at the metrics, then it will plot out all the metrics which were possible. Okay, so accuracy was 95%, then this was the metric which I had specified. There are other metrics also which were computed, and the scores are given for that, the percentages are given for that. And when I go to the model, because I have asked it to explain, the automated ML to explain that why this model was chosen, then I can view an explanation, right? And once I click on explanation, it will give me the explanation. See here, it will give me the explanation, and then it will load all the explanation that it according to the automated machine learning of Azure, it found these features to be important, most important. I took these features to be of prime importance. So for the taxi fare application, maybe the number of passengers and the traffic situation and the time of pickup and time of drop off and the location of pickup and location of drop off and stuff were the most important features as compared to, let's say, weather, or as, let's say, compared to uh, number of passengers. Okay, so compared to these things, the machine learning algorithm thought of taking XYZ features, and that's how I came up with this model and this accuracy and stuff like that. So all of this, all of this is, yeah, see, you can do it, right? It gives you everything here. And it gives you the dataset explorer and everything, lot of possibilities. Okay, so my point here is not to show you the automated ML. My point here is, when you're operating within the my point is when you're operating within the Synapse, okay, you don't even, and you want to have machine learning integrated into Synapse, you don't have to even, go to the tabs and do stuff, okay, like you created your Synapse machine learning, sorry, Synapse resource. You just have to create your machine learning resource. That's it. Once you come to the Synapse, all of these things like taking data and then querying your data set and then importing the data set and then setting the timeout and then starting an experiment within the machine learning workspace, configuring the machine learning workspace wherein you will, yeah, where you will specify here. See, where is that? Sorry, just excuse me. I'm just, yeah, here, see. So you are going to call your machine learning workspace into your Azure Synapse Studio. So everything you are doing it within the, while staying within the purview of the Synapse Studio itself. You are not, jumping around the tabs and doing stuff. Okay. All right. And I just wanted to show you also the capabilities of how you can visualize data. So let's say what I'm doing is, so there in Azure, for demo purposes, you will always have certain existing data sets, like you will have the hotel rating reviews data set, you will have the New York cab data set, you will have the bike rentals data set, you will have a certain iris flowers classification data set, right? So there are certain data sets which you can directly import without having to go through the entire process of defining Azure data stores and data factories and stuff like that. Okay, so for our example, I'm directly importing the existing data, taxi data set. All right. So yeah, and before we move on to the taxi data set, just to show you a smaller example, because the taxi data set takes a bit of time to execute. Okay, so within this, what we are going to do is, what we have done is, this is the uh, loan application data set, right? So within the different states, California, Washington, and all, I am giving the state. I mean, I'm trying to see the state, age, and salary. All right. So once this cell is executed, you will see that from the loan application data set, I'm trying to get these three columns: state, age, salary. Okay. Then I'm creating a Spark set here. Okay, called as demo DF. And now when I run, so let us do that. When I run select star from demo DF, why run the notebook to start a new session? Okay, so it is starting a Spark session now. So once you're running that, right, once you're running this and then you get a you get the output here, then you see that output you can view as a table or as a chart. Okay, and then in the chart, when I go here, from that chart you can have different visualizations possible, like chart type could be bar chart or whatever, line chart, column chart, pie chart, scatter chart. All right. And so let's maybe have a scatter chart, and from the scatter chart you can also play around with the X and Y axis. Okay, so what I'm saying is, I'm going to choose the age here, and then I'm going to choose the salary, right? Values will be salary. It's very slow. Values will be salary, and then, yeah, and then I can choose to have statistical operation like sum or average or stuff like that. So what I'm essentially trying to do is, for each age group, I'm trying to find the average salary in my data set. Okay, so this is just a sample of your BI operations which are possible. Okay, again, let's go here, choose salary. I don't want age, right? And series group is none. Okay, I don't want any series group, and the aggregation operation which I want to do is average. All right. And once I apply, then your scatter chart is ready. And you can change the scatter chart. You can make it to maybe bar chart for better explanation. Apply, and bar chart will be generated for each age group and your average salary for that. All right. So this is just an example of, interactive visualization which you can do, right? Interactive visualization which you can have with your data frames, SQL data frames, and see how it is easy it is to shift between your SQL and your Spark frame. So just you have to write here a percentage SQL, and then your syntax, your language is changed to SQL, and then from Spark you can write your SQL syntax to query your tables. All right. So you can see, select star from demo df, you change the language to SQL. If I am not changing the language to SQL here, this is how I am going to do the same operation using PySpark. That. Yeah, see. Display spark.sql and then select. So if I'm not changing my language to SQL, I can operate within the purview of your Spark syntax. Otherwise, I can always type percentile SQL and then start using my SQL syntax for doing my data, this thing, okay, querying my data, okay. So going back, I just wanted to show you the Synapse Studio and stuff. Okay. And now, because we already talked of a bit of T-SQL and Spark, right? So for execution, it follows one of the two engines. It allows a traditional SQL engine, which is T-SQL, and also a Spark engine. Okay. So as we saw that, within the Spark pool also, it is quite possible for us to start using the T-SQL syntax as well. And on top of that, on top of your all the possibilities, varied possibilities which we saw, so it can connecting between Azure machine learning workspaces and all, it can also connect to directly Azure Databricks, because if you have a working knowledge of Azure Databricks also operates a Spark core, right? It is also based on the Apache Spark, right? So excuse me. So it is very easy to have your Azure Databricks workloads connected to your Azure SQL Synapse, because it is also operating a Spark core, as we saw here. So just to remind you, right? If you go back to your Azure Synapse Studio, and once you go to manage, you can easily see your Apache Spark pools here. And also Azure Databricks also operate on top of your concept of your Apache Spark. So that is how, they are able to channelize huge data workloads, and then able to run them in parallel and then give out results. So same thing. So it is very easy for us to interoperate between Synapse and Azure Databricks as well. So no need to reinvent and rewrite the programs or Python data scripts which are already running in Databricks. So you can easily connect them and bring the results from Databricks to Synapse, or use Databricks to connect to Synapse and then operate on the data there, or operate on the data in Synapse. Okay, so it's very flexible. The Synapse is very flexible. Synapse is very accommodating, all encompassing, and that's why it kind of become central to all the huge data workloads which we are operating on. So big data space, especially analytics comes into play when we are talking of big data. Okay. And then if you see at, Azure Databricks and Azure Synapse interoperating in tandem together, it gives us a huge opportunity to combine analytical BI and data science solutions with a shared data lake between services. So imagine that, your data scientists are already using Databricks to run their data science workloads. You have Synapse sitting here, which can be used to interoperate between all the Azure ecosystem, and then your Databricks and your Synapse together can interoperate with each other, connect with each other, and then give us, seemingly lot of possibilities, unimaginable possibilities and powerful solutions to solve our data science and our data analytics problems. All right. So if you look at a nutshell, right? In nutshell, Azure Synapse Analytics can ingest data from all of this on-premise, cloud, SaaS, streaming data. So even streaming data, right? So you can have Apache Kafka and also stream data into Synapse Analytics. Okay. And then Synapse Analytics, if you look at this, you have your, so the architecture is, as I was showing you, have Apache Spark and SQL pools here. Okay. the concept, like it is based on Azure Data Lake storage. So all the security and your administration concepts and your concurrency, latency, and all those things are based on Azure Data Lake. On top of this, on top of that, you have the tabs which I was showing you: data integration, management, monitoring, security. So the tabs which we saw in the studio, these ones, right? Integrate, monitors, manage, okay? And all these are encompassed into the studio, and all these makes up your Azure Synapse. Okay. From Azure Synapse, you can have Azure Machine Learning. Okay. As we are going to see in our notebook, you can have Power BI. Okay. So like we just saw a very, small preview in action, wherein in your notebook, yeah, in your notebook, we were able to see all those various operations on your data frame, right? So yeah, your chart and stuff like that. Okay. And then you can have your purview, Azure Purview. So this is something which is still in preview. Won't discuss it, not within the agenda, what within the purview of our today's session. All right. So having said that, let us move on to our demo. Okay, so as I was saying you that as I was telling you that we will be able to discuss one of the two scenarios. One was about having cognitive services integrate into Synapse, and one was automated ML integrate into Synapse. Okay, so we will quickly see automated ML integrated into Synapse. So this is my notebook which I created. Okay, it is running on my Spark pool. So as soon as you create a notebook, you have to attach it to one of the Spark pools which you created. So if you are running a T script, then you attach it to a SQL pool. But since I'm running a PySpark notebook, I'm attaching it to a Spark pool. Okay, and then what I'm doing is basically before even I'm calling the data source, okay, which is the New York cab data source. Okay, and from that New York data source, so I have already executed it. And what I'm trying to do is, because there's a lot of data which is there, I'm trying to clean the data. Okay, so I'm trying to just take, come on, it is going to do this again. Okay, right. Yeah, so essentially what I'm doing is I'm first creating my data source here. Okay, then once my data source is created, I'm going to clean it. So I won't be using all the data, right? So I've cleaning the data means removing null values, filtering only data between one date to another date, so start date, end date, and stuff like that. Okay, so this is what I'm doing here. And once that is done, then I will be excluding null values and all of those, all of those terms for machine learning. I'll be doing that. Okay. Once that is done, what I'm going to do is I'm going to split my data into training and validation. Okay. So if I have 100 rows of data, 80 will be used for training. The 20 will be unseen data, which will be used for testing the accuracy of my model. Okay. And then here, see, in this cell, I'm importing the workspace, which was my machine learning workspace, which I created. So I don't have to jump between tabs. So I'm just directly importing the workspace. So I created a pre-analytics workspace for my machine learning. It was done in some West US 2 region. And then I'm importing my data set. I am setting all the properties like, timeout will be there. What are my metrics to be considered? What algorithm I'm considering? I'm considering AutoML regression algorithm. Okay, and the output which I have to predict is the fair amount. Okay, so this is my prediction. This is my prediction column. This is, and at the end of all this, huge experiment, what I'm trying to essentially do is predict the fair amount. Okay, and then after that is done, okay, so I'm going to start an experiment right here. Okay, so this is like calling the machine learning studio right here in the Synapse studio and running that experiment remotely. So I'm not going here, clicking tabs to run and stuff. So using the PySpark, I'm actually provisioning to an experiment to run in the machine learning, Azure Machine Learning Studio. Once that machine learning is done, we see that, as I was showing you, the best model, explain the best model, details of the best model. So all these things also you can do in the Synapse here using the best run fitted model. I'm getting the output. So explain me the tell me the best model. Tell me what is the accuracy of the best model. Okay, so what are the different metrics which you tried out, which is what we see here. If you go to details, sorry for this, my PC has gone exceedingly slow. I don't know why. It's because maybe of the parallel Spark processing. The Spark workloads can be very high for a normal 8 GB RAM PC, right? So if you look at the metrics, it will list out all the metrics here. The same thing we are going to see in the Synapse. So you are listing out all the metrics and you are testing like what was the accuracy for all the metrics. Then you can specify a different metric. Now you can specify that I wanted root mean square error, and then you can calculate that metrics as well. Okay. Finally, you can plot out your uh, uh, output. Okay, so you can actually see that what is the actual value and the predicted value. Okay, and then you can publish your model. And once your model is published, you can go back to the tab if you want to check, and you can check that that experiment has been already created and all the steps have been configured without even shifting between tabs. So all you created was you created two resources. One was a machine learning workspace, one was an Azure workspace, and then from within the Synapse Studio, you were able to do so many things, right? So because it's slow and it's still running, I will directly show you how the output looks like. So if you see, finally, this is the actual versus predicted fare. So actual fare was something like of the test data set which we saw. The actual fare was maybe $50, and the predicted fare was something like $48. So finally, you see that most of the actual and predicted are within acceptable range of the error. So maybe around 7%, 10% error. What was the threshold? Whatever was the threshold you gave. Okay, and then so all these operations like looking at the these are the models which it tried out, right? Max app scaler and blah 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 blah, and finally it came out with the best model. Okay, best model depending on how much time it took and what was the metric. So we gave the metric as root mean square error, right? So root mean square error means the error between my predicted and my actual value should be the least. Okay, so which means high accuracy, right? So 96% accuracy should be there, and then my root mean scale error, which the metrics has to be like the lower the error, the better the accuracy, right? So then that is what it tried out all these algorithms, and then it gave out the prediction, the accuracy, right? So 96% accuracy was found with max AppScaler Lite GBM, and then it will explain all of these model, retrieve the best model, show me all the accuracy. So basically, whatever things which we are able to do from the machine learning AutoML portal, you can visualize all of them here at one place and then take decisions accordingly. You can then finally publish your model, and once you publish your model, you can consume it in your in your downstream applications. All right. So I think we just have a couple of minutes left. I quickly also want you to run through the cognitive services which we can integrate, because that is one of the most common applications which we see in Synapse, right? So I won't be running you through all the cognitive services. I will just run through text analytics. Okay, and in text analytics, because what typically happens is your data set, especially in an investment firm like mine, in my investment house like mine. So whenever you have your data frame, so data sets, right? So those data sets are majorly what we have reports. We have investment reports, annual earning reports, call reports, earning transcript reports. So all of these reports, the which forms our data warehouse, the data feed into the data warehouse. And on top of that, the most important thing which we do is run sentiment analysis to categorize. So let's say for a hedging fund algorithm which we are designing, or for financial sentiment algorithm which we are designing, the most important stuff for us is to categorize reports or categorize sentences, paragraphs into positive or negative, and have some kind of tagging, like what this report is talking about. Is this report talking about clinical trials for COVID? Is it talking about better prospects for pharmaceutical companies and stuff like that? So tagging reports, having sentiment analysis, right? So when our data is in Azure Synapse, The first machine learning step which we have to perform on that is sentiment analysis. Second is extracting keywords, key phrases. Third is maybe advanced NLP, like having sentence prediction, or categorizing them into various clusters, like these are like most likely to do funds in the future, these are like sagging funds, these are like promising funds, so clustering all of them. So on top of that you will have to run other unsupervised machine learning algorithms like k-means clustering and stuff like that. Okay, but apart from that, just want to show you text analytics. We are using the existing service offering from Azure itself. So what it happens is, imagine that this is some text which you already which you're feeding to your, so from your Synapse Analytics, you are extracting this text and then sending it further for text analytics using the cognitive service. Similarly, as we interacted with the machine learning workspace, you can also interact with the cognitive services from the Synapse Studio. So in the text analytics, what happens is it will identify keywords, key phrases, and also give me a sentiment for the entire document. Okay, could be a sentence wise sentiment, could be a document sentiment. So the document sentiment is neutral, and by itself the NLP algorithm which is running behind the scenes in text analytics, it will identify certain keywords, key phrases. Once it is done, keywords, key phrases, what it will do is it will do entity linking. Entity linking meaning it will identify personally identifiable entities like geographical locations, celebrities, landmarks, known things like Sun, Saturn, Jupiter, solar system, Earth, like that. Okay, and then once it identifies those, it will further give me deep links for future reference, further reference, like Saturn is a planet, or solar system is the entire solar system, Jupiter, Earth are. So imagine, if it had certain technical jargons like ESG. Okay, I don't know what is ESG in financial term. It is like environment and social metrics. So it will give me that. Or there are certain institution names like MAS, UNESCO, then UNICEF and stuff like that. And then it will also try to understand those acronyms and then give me further linking. The most important thing is the way it identifies the keywords and key phrases and the document sentiment, right? So I immediately know that this document is neutral. So in case of stock predictions and all, I can immediately see that what are the upbeat sentiments, what are the promising future trends, and then have all those reports together. And within that reports, then for categorizing or clustering the reports further, my keywords, key phrases will come into account, like something which is talking of major stakeholders, or so let's say XYZ is a major stakeholder in which all companies, or if for startups and all, who was the major investor. Okay, so SoftBank was the major investor, so all SoftBank related reports or those things I can cluster together. So lot of possible offerings. So for the base of which is still analytics, Azure Synapse Analytics, and top of that you can have numerous possibilities. One of the possibilities which we saw today was integrating machine learning. So you can have your own machine learning, you can have automated machine learning, you can build your own models, import them into Synapse Studio, you can have cognitive services, ready-made offerings like vision, text, and many more, and then integrate them into Synapse using the PySpark code. Okay, or you can query data from your SQL database into your Synapse and Studio using the SQL syntax which we saw. And yeah, so that concludes why Synapse is increasingly becoming one of the most liked features of Azure, and that is going to in fact have even more features in the in the next months to come. All right. Yep. So that concludes our session for today. If there are any questions, I would be more than happy to